Age of Empires 4 has finally come out after 258 years, and all it took was for someone to personally hassle Bill Gates about it. You're probably wondering which civilization you should play so that you can finally beat your older brother. There are 8 civilizations to choose from, and I know that some of you will find that a bit overwhelming. You need an Age of Empires genius to tell you which civ you should main, but I'm gonna do it instead. Let me first tell you why I'm the most qualified person to give you advice. I know I may only have 2.5 hours in game, and 2 hours of that was listening to the theme song on the title screen, but I've played over 10,000 hours of Forge of Empires, Rise of Kingdoms, and literally every variation of the title blank of blank. And every single one of them is exactly the same. Whoever is at the top of this plagiarism chain is absolutely refusing to sue. I also have 3 doctorates in history, with a minor in Wululu. So which civilization should you main? The English are the civilization that makes the least sense being here. At this point in English history, their king was French, so I really have no idea why they were included when the French are already here. English farms are cheaper and produce food faster, but I know about the Enclosure Acts, so the local lord is just going to take it all away from you eventually. The only thing the English have going for them is longbowmen. That's a guy with a bow, but longer. Oh, bloody hell, why didn't I think of that? According to Microsoft, the English special unit is their villager. Every civilization has villagers, but these have bows. But there's something suspicious about these villagers. None of the English villagers actually seem to speak English.
He's your worker and your worker.
You can't trust them. But the biggest tell is that we don't see any of them drinking tea. Maybe because all the tea is still in China. Apparently no one wants to play as the Chinese because they're too complex, but also no one wants to play against them because they have the nest of bees. Bees are not really that threatening though. Oh, it's a rocket launcher. Yeah, I can see how that might be a bit intimidating. You get to build both landmarks per age, but doing that triggers a new dynasty. Look up the deadliest wars in history, and like half of them are just new dynasties taking control in China. There's 4 dynasties per game. If this game really wanted to be historically accurate, every time you started a new dynasty, half of your villagers would just die. Speaking of bloody revolutions, the French. One of the most popular civilizations, the French are described as a balanced civ. They're strong on water maps, but water maps are terrible. It's like being the best in the world at breaking your own thumbs, or golf. Why would you do that? The French get knights in the feudal age, so you can send over heavy cavalry to raid your enemy before they can do anything about it, and that's why French players are the scum of the earth. The French are also very good at trading, and their economic technologies cost less, and their cannon is the strongest artillery unit in the game. So what exactly is the downside besides having to be French? The most common problem I've seen among French players is that they're overconfident, they get sloppy, leave the stealth forest on their eastern border unprotected, panzers blitz through, and before you know it, Hitler's spending his holiday in Paris. I can't recommend this strategy because you're relying too much on the English and the Russians, or as they'd like to be called, the Rus. Many people say the strongest civilization is the Rus because of something about springolds being upgraded to 13.5 instead of 12. Personally, I have no idea what that means, but I do know you get something called a warrior priest, which reminds me of Warhammer. They have a special building called a hunting cabin which generates gold from forests. Surely that would be food. Where are you getting all this gold from? You also get gold from killing animals. What? How? I have to believe that these hunting cabins are really a front for the Russian mafia. Or as they were known at the time, the Rus Maf. One of their landmarks is the Golden Gate, which lets you trade 100 of one resource for 150 of another. So that's obviously bullshit. There's definitely something illegal going on in there. They do well on winter maps, but what do you do when it turns to summer? And with global warming, winter is getting shorter and warmer anyway. Save yourself by maining a civ that lives in the desert. The Abbasids are one of the most polarizing civs. I've seen people rate them either very high or very low, depending on if they draw a camel with 1 hump or 2. And if you play them, you're going to be looking at a lot of camels during your game. The Abbasids have a special building called the House of Wisdom. Instead of building landmarks to age up, you just research the next stage at the house. But there's something not right about that name. Surely it would be called University of Wisdom, or Wisdom Tech. But it's just a house. I don't think this is an accredited school. I'm going to take a wild stab and guess that the Abbasid Caliphate is the empire you know the least about. That means if you pick them, you won't know how to play as them. So I'm going to give you a brief explanation of their history. Holy shit! You know what? Don't play as them. But if you do want a long and confusing history, look no further than the real holy shit, the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire was a collection of mostly landlocked princedoms and bishoprics, so naturally you'll want to play as them whenever there's a water map. The water maps are the absolute best maps, so you'll get a lot of use out of a civ with a really good navy. You can get a lot of gold from relics with your special buildings, but that would trigger inflation, and hyperinflation in Germany has always led to topics that guarantee YouTube demonetization. Regular viewers of my channel will know that I have a bit of a bee in my dick about the Holy Roman Empire, but I have to admit that the Holy Roman Empire in Age of of Empires 4 hasn't changed my mind. Shit tier civilization. But you can play as them if you want me to lose all respect for you. Or you could play as the Mongols. I've heard the Mongols get called the most difficult civ to play as. I disagree. You can't build any walls, can't even harvest stone. That simplifies the game by 1/4. The Mongols can pack up their entire town and move it somewhere else. So can a trailer park, but I don't consider that a massive tactical advantage. You'll be using mostly horsemen and horse archers, but you can't farm, which means you can't make grain. So on desert and winter maps, you're going to have to eat them. The Mongols, historically, were so strong that they actually destroyed the Rus and Abbasid Caliphate in real life. They were the most successful empire in human history, and that's the problem. There's just too much pressure to live up to the name. You'll move your capital right next to the enemy town center to try to be bold, then 2 spearmen will wipe out your entire civilization because you got cocky. But if you're feeling really bold, you should try to play as the Delhi Sultanate. Nobody seems to agree on what the best civilization is, but absolutely everyone believes that the Delhi Sultanate is the worst. They don't pay for upgrades, you have to hire scholars to unlock them over time. That's communism. You can make both war elephants and tower elephants, but according to this documentary I saw, it only takes 1 archer to take down an elephant. You can also somehow put them in guard towers? 5 full-size elephants fit in that? Imagine the poop. That's animal cruelty, and being mean to an elephant is objectively worse than wiping out another civilization. So what is the best civ to main? Delhi. You should only play Delhi. If another player takes Delhi before you, restart the game. Delhi will win every single game, every single time. Elephants will march across the face of the earth. Then Microsoft will change the name to Age of Elephants 4.